I'm reading chapter 18, Grimbeard the Ghastly's final surprise. The entire mound of treasure reared up and shook itself, cups and jewels and swords and coins cascading down the sides like molten lava. And something that looked like a big white rope reached out of the treasure and wound its way round Alvin's waist. It wasn't a rope. It was a singularly unattractive white tentacle that looked as if it were made out of a quivering piece of fat. The tentacle was dotted with small indentations out of which there oozed a disgusting whitey grey sticky sludge that smelled undescribably awful, or even indescribably awful. Alvin shrieked in horror as the treasure dropped away to reveal the creature that had been sleeping underneath it, a creature they had awoken with a sword fight. Oh, look at that, that's the tentacle carrying Alvin up into the air. It was Grimbeard the Ghastly's final surprise, his last booby trap. Oh, he was a tricky man, that Grimbeard the Ghastly. He had left it there to guard the treasure, a monster that Hiccup had heard of in legends, but never seen before, and one that he secretly hoped that he would never, ever have to see again. It was the same animal that had surprised the little, poor, lost, deadly Nada the day before, if you remember, and it was called a monstrous strangulator. A strangulator was a gigantic monster, genetically related to dragons, octopuses, and snakes. It had tiny, withered dragon wings and tiny, crippled little dragon legs that were basically useless as it heaved its great body through underground tunnels like a serpent, leaving a trail of gooey slime. It had never seen daylight and was the colour of nothing. Its tentacles had obviously found a way up through to the upper caves of the Wild Dragon Cliff, for it was transparent and you could actually see the forms of unfortunate dragons it had eaten moving through its digestive system. Yeah, yucky, I'm sorry, but it's true. Some, further down the strangulator's great length, were lying quite still. Others that he had eaten more recently were jerking about, and one was trying to fly, trapped in the great monster's great throat. The naturalist in Hiccup automatically identified the species: monstrous nightmare, deadly Nada, common or garden ×3, making their slow progress through the serpent's alimentary canal. So small was the creature's brain in proportion to its size that it had difficulty in keeping sensory track of all its squirming tentacles, and they wandered about as if they had independent lives of their own. The creature had to concentrate hard to make the tentacle that was holding Alvin move very slowly up to its head so that it could have a look at him, unsure of what to make of this weird new animal. "Is food?" hissed the serpent musingly to itself. Hiccup practically cried with relief. For the creature was speaking a dialect of Dragonese, a very ancient form of it, but Dragonese nonetheless, and Hiccup was of the opinion that if you could talk to your killer, you were in with a chance. Alvin struggled wildly and slashed at the great squeezing tentacle with the storm blade. "Tickle me with your prickle, would you?" said the creature. "Then I'll tickle you with mine." Oh dear. And languidly it tangled the tip of its tail in front of Alvin's face. Hiccup had seen such a tail on much smaller animals. It was filled to the tip with a grass green venomous, pure as glass. There was a plunger a little way down, and the tip just had to penetrate its victim. The plunger go down, and it was good night, sweet world. Hello, Valhalla. Oh, excellent, thought Hiccup to himself. A poisonous monstrous strangulator. My favourite kind. Oh dear. Alvin fainted as soon as he set eyes on that deadly tail. He was frightened of needles. So the strangulation didn't even bother to inject him. It just swallowed him whole alive, just as it was, storm blade and all. In fascinated horror, Hiccup watched the now awake and struggling form of Alvin travelling down the strangulator's transparent throat. So, thought Hiccup, the eater of human flesh is eaten himself isn't bait artistic. Sometimes it is harder to force yourself to stand still than it is to run away, but Hiccup knew that he wouldn't have a chance if he tried to escape. This animal was just too big. So Hiccup froze in the hope that the creature's eyesight was poor. What Hiccup is going to have to do is come up with a very clever plan. Luckily, Hiccup is very good at that sort of thing. But the creature's eyesight was poor, like other beasts that live solely underground. Hiccup was probably right, but one of those constantly moving tentacles accidentally bumped into him, and as soon as it made contact with his warm body, it automatically wrapped itself around Hiccup and lifted him into the air. A plan! Fishlegs is like me. He shouted out wildly from below. You need a fiendishly clever plan! Thank you, Fishlegs, said Hiccup, his mind flicking about like a shrimp in a net and trying to ignore the terrible squeezing in his chest. I'm aware of that. Toothless, come up here! The tentacles were turning Hiccup over and over. Toothless flapped up and hovered as close as he could. Hiccup shouted something into the little dragon's ear. That's a terrible plan, moaned Toothless, shaking his head. Oh, terrible. Just do as you're told for once in your life, yelled Hiccup. And while the creature remained unconscious of having caught anything, he still stood a chance of escape. With his sword, he jabbed away at the sticky tentacle that was encircling his trunk, and it seemed to be loosening way down at the bottom of the treasure land. Fishlegs was frantically trying to be helpful. In front of him, there lay a heavily bejewelled monstrosity of a sword. Despite the fact that it was nearly as big as himself, Fishlegs managed to pick it up from the floor. Purple in the face. I'm so glad that Fishlegs is helping here. Fishlegs managed to pick it up from the floor. Purple in the face with the extraordinary effort. He lifted it high above his head, ready to launch it at the creature's stomach. There he is, launching it over his head. Unfortunately, the backwards momentum of the sword was so great that Fishlegs toppled very slowly backwards with it. There was a bronze shield on the floor behind him, and he landed on it with such force that he knocked himself out. The noise of Fishlegs' head connecting with the shield caught the creature's attention, and a light finally dawned in its dull eyes, which went into focus on Hiccup. Its tentacles gripped strongly, and escape became impossible. More food? It mused to itself. Not food! Hiccup shouted out. I'm poisonous! Very, very poisonous! Poisonous? Hissed the creature. It speaks and is poisonous, is it? I'm poisonous. See? And it waved a deadly plunger over its tail menacingly in front of Hiccup. Don't like it when the food speaks, whined the creature to itself. It's tricksy when it speaks. He's right. Kill it quickly before it tricks me. It wrapped its tentacles a little tighter around Hiccup in order to suffocate him. This is all very interesting, Hiccup managed to choke out, his eye popping. So how are you thinking of killing me exactly? Gradually, the awful pressure on Hiccup's chest eased as the strangulator considered the question. Well, it said slowly, I was thinking of squeezing you to death. I only asked, said Hiccup, gasping for air, because I was recently nearly swallowed by Sea Dragonus Giganticus Maximus, who said that the undergrounders were very primitive animals, poorly armed and only capable of basic forms of killing, such as strangulation. The creature stopped squeezing entirely. That's very rude, it hissed eventually, rather hurt. What is this gigantic maxi thingy anyway? Release your tentacles a bit, said Hiccup, and I'll tell you. Okay, said the strangulator, but no tricksing or I'll get cross. Slowly the creature unwound its tentacles, leaving them only loosely wrapped about the boy. Hiccup took in great relief gulps of air. A Sea Dragonus Giganticus Maximus, Hiccup continued, is a gigantic, scary killing machine as big as a mountain. Ice big? The creature pointed out. It has at least 3 ways of killing, said Hiccup. It can tie you, it can rip you to pieces with its talons, bite you to bits with its teeth, or fry you to a frazzle with its fire. I can do that, said the creature less certainly. No, you can't, said Hiccup. You haven't got any talons, teeth, or fire. I haven't, said the strangulator very disappointedly, but I can squeeze you to death. He brightened up and began to wrap his tentacles around Hiccup again. So old-fashioned, shouted Hiccup hurriedly. What about the poison? That's the most modern method of killing around. A Sea Dragonus Giganticus Maximus hasn't got any poison. Hasn't it? Asked the creature delightedly. No, it hasn't, said Hiccup. I'm very curious to see how these fancy new poisons work. It's not a nice way to go. warned the creature. Oh dear, look, that's Hiccup. Oh, just above. Oh, the very weird, scary creature. There's Hiccup. You can see in the right-hand corner. And there's the open mouth of the beast. It's a nice way to go. It pointed the sharp needle of its tail straight at Hiccup's heart. Suddenly, Toothless flew into the Strangulator's field of vision. The creature lost concentration for a second as the little dragon zoomed up and down, right in front of its eyes. By the time it had coordinated its tentacles enough to frighten Toothless away, the Strangulator was very, very cross. "I told you, no tricksing," it hissed with venom in its voice. "This will shut you up." Pishles came back into consciousness just in time to see the Strangulator inject the whole tail's worth of green poison, enough to kill the entire population of Rome, into the flesh below Hiccup's shirt. That is not a good time to leave it. I'm so sorry. We'll have to hear the next chapter.